One more off day as we make the long travel from Sunrise, Florida, all the way up to Edmonton, Alberta for game number 3 of the 2024 Stanley Cup Final. That's tomorrow night in Edmonton as the Oilers look to get their first win of this Cup Final. The Panthers 2 wins away from their first ever Stanley Cup title. Joining us here on this Wednesday to look at the series overall, Pete Jensen from the NHL gets you set for Game 3 and beyond. Pete, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks for being here.
Anytime, guys. Yeah, the Oilers are down, but certainly not out. I think we've seen real resiliency from them in past series. They actually lost consecutive games at one point in the series against Dallas. People thought they were done. Then they won a home game to tie it up and then ended up winning 3 straight to win the series. So you never know.
We know what that home ice environment is like up at the Rogers Place. It is not an easy environment to walk into. But Pete, before we look at Game 3, let's look back on the first 2 games of this 2024 Stanley Cup Final. Florida not just victorious in Sunrise, but in dominant fashion. A 3-goal margin in each of the first 2, 3-0 in game number 1, 4-1 in game number 2. Pete, why have the margins been so large here in each of the first 2 games of the Cup Final?
I mean, certainly because Edmonton's top guys have all been held without goals. McDavid, Draisaitl, and Evan Bouchard, all with goose eggs in that category so far. So that is the first thing that needs to change. And then some of the secondary guys, of course, need to step up, whether it's a Nugent Hopkins or a Vander Kane, or even deeper down the line, Adam Henrique, a guy they acquired at the trade deadline. Those are guys that you're going to need major contributions from over the course of the series to even give yourself a chance. So that's why big picture season series, 4 victories for Florida, none for Edmonton, all on the puck line, all by multiple goals, and a combined 17-5 margin. That's pretty eye-opening. That said, I expect Edmonton to win one of the 2 games at home at least and keep the other one close. I think this is going to take a little bit of a turn here.
You should have a perfect storm in game number 2 as well, because you go on the road, you know the crowd's going to be loud. You haven't scored in game number 1. You get that first goal, and then you see 4 unanswered goals by the Florida Panthers in an easy victory. Yeah, if we take a look at the series now, Florida's a minus 490 favorite to win at Edmonton is a plus 365. Now, some of those price points might go into this, because I want to ask you this question. You know, a lot of chatter around should Leon Draisaitl be suspended. He wasn't. And also the advent of Barkov. Will he play in game number 3, or what is his opportunities over the next couple of games to return back to the ice here, Pete?
Right. The playing field changes a little bit with how that is playing out, right? Barkov, hopefully he plays. It sounds a little promising that he's getting better each day. If he comes back for game 3, that's major for Florida. Florida can withstand a game or 2, I think, without him because they have good center depth. They have, of course, Bennett, who's a physical player. Anton Lundell has had a breakout postseason with 14 points in 19 games as mostly a third liner. They also have Sam Reinhart, who has played a lot of center at a high level in his NHL career, especially when he was back with the Buffalo Sabres before getting traded. So I think Florida can withstand this here. But if you take potentially Barkov, the best defensive forward in the NHL, out of the equation, sure, that would be an incentive to look at some of these props offensively for the Edmonton's top guys, especially for them to break through on the power play. They're 0 for 7 in the series. That is the first order of business. When they get those opportunities at home, they got to finish the job and give themselves an upper hand.
Florida was the pre-Cup Final favorites at minus 130. Now that commanding 2-0 series advantage, as Donnie alluded to, nearly a $5 odds-on favorite at minus 490. But we haven't played a game up in the Great White North in Edmonton just yet. So, Pete, if the Oilers are to get back in this series, how does Edmonton do it?
I mean, Stuart Skinner is probably going to have to steal one of those games. I think what we saw in game 2 as opposed to game 1, Edmonton heavily outshot Florida. I don't see that happening very much the rest of the way. Florida is one of those teams, they're possession savvy. With or without Barkov, they grind you down and they wear you out over the course of a game. That's such a strong third period team are the Panthers. So I think it's going to be one of those things where maybe even if they eke out game 3, it might have to be something where Skinner makes 35, 40 saves and gets the victory standing on his head a little bit. Maybe Edmonton's guys get you a couple goals and they win maybe a 3-2 or a 4-3 type game. So maybe look at the Skinner saves prop in either games 3 or 4, considering he's likely to have his team get outshot in one or both of these games against Florida.
Yeah, he's definitely got a match up against Bobrovsky, which brings us to the Conn Smythe Trophy odds here. You take a look at the leader in the clubhouse right now. It is Sergei Bobrovsky at a -200 price, followed by Connor McDavid at a 5-1. Now, interesting here, Barkov at a +550 price, third on the leaderboard here, even though his status for Game 3 technically still up in the air. Tkachuk, Bouchard, Verhaeghe after him. If we're looking for the Conn Smythe right now, is it Bobrovsky's to lose here for you, Pete?
I mean, based on the Cup Final, I know the award is based on votes and play over the 4 rounds combined. Right now, like recency bias has everybody gravitating toward Bobrovsky, and rightfully so. He's 2-0. He's only given up 1 goal in the 2 games. He's got a great road record, so he has a chance to, I think 6-2 Florida is, and Bobrovsky's played every game for them. So he's in the driver's seat right now. That said, that number on Barkov, if he does come back and he's, the conquering hero and maybe scores a goal in the clinching game, he may only need to play, 1 more game in this series. If he comes back, defies the injury, and maybe gets you a big goal in a big moment. I mean, he's the guy that has been the most consistent on Florida's side, offensively and defensively, shutting down some of these top players along the way, right? Whether it's Kucherov and the Lightning in the first round, David Pastrnak containing him in the second round, and then absolutely neutralizing the play of New York Rangers star Artemi Panarin in the third round and just making him a non-factor in that series. If he does that in this series as well, containing McDavid in 1 or 2 more games played, I think that could wrap it up here for Barkov.
The man known as Bob has stood on his head and has been great. The clean sheet in Game 1. The second best price, though, even in front of Sasha Barkov, is Connor McDavid at a 5-1 number, because there is still optimism for the Oilers. Edmonton, Pete, tomorrow night, booked as a home ice favorite at -140. If Edmonton and the odds makers are correct, does eke out a victory in Game 3 to get their first of this Stanley Cup Final, how much longer will the Cup Final play out?
My pick was Florida in 6. I think if Edmonton gets Game 3, there's a real chance of that happening. But yeah, I do still think that Florida, and we looked at it, right? Like I think it's like less than 10% of the teams in Cup Final history who have trailed the series 2-0 have come back to win it. The last one was the 2011 Bruins, so it doesn't happen very often at all. So the odds are heavily stacked against McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard, Chris Knoblauch, and the Oilers. But Edmonton's been a good home team, 6-3 this postseason. McDavid has 19 points in 9 home playoff games to lead the NHL, and he also is leading the series in shots on goal right now. With 9 through 2 games, that's a high volume. He's knocking at the door. Expect things to flip the script a little bit in McDavid's favor, I think, in Game 3.
+135 for Connor McDavid to tickle the twine in Game 3, get on the board and get his Oilers on the board in terms of registering a victory in the 2024 Stanley Cup Final. That's tomorrow night in Edmonton at Rogers Place. Exactly. Home ice advantage that Edmonton needs. Pete Jensen from the NHL, we appreciate the time. Thank you for looking at the Stanley Cup Final forecast for us.
Anytime, guys. Yeah, it should be great. And hopefully Edmonton, pushes back at home to make this thing a little interesting. I think we'd all like to see more hockey, and hopefully I see you guys again next week if things are still going.
Pete, we hope so, because both of the finals that we have right now on the ice and on the hardwood look like they could be done early.